Disappointment from the Supreme Court today as the highest court of the land decided to reject a review petition asking the court to reconsider an earlier decision by the court to actually uphold homosexuality as criminal. In other words, Vikram Seth, Wendell Rodrigues and thousands of other people, some well known, some not so well known, are to be treated as criminals in their own country. Is this the end of the road for activists, for gay rights activists who are saying we are not criminals? Is the onus now on Parliament, or is there still legal recourse possible? What do we make of the Supreme Court's rejection? Joining us now is Anand Grover, senior advocate, somebody who's been representing the gay rights activists on this cause. Also joining us today from Mumbai is Onir, well-known filmmaker and activist, somebody who's been outspoken about his own experience with being gay in the subcontinent. Also joining us is Ashok Rao Kavi from Mumbai, well-known gay rights activist and writer. Anand Grover, let me start with you. How disappointed are you? Because in a sense, there was an expectation that the Supreme Court would admit the review petition, would reconsider the question after so much of public outrage against its earlier judgment.
Oh yes, I think it would be fair to say that I am personally, and we are very disappointed because we thought the earlier judgment was wrong, legally not sustainable, and we made a very good case in review on the basis of precedent earlier. So we thought that and rightly so I think, that the Supreme Court would reconsider its decision and allow us to be heard in an open court hearing.
Do we know at all, Mr. Grover, why the Supreme Court has decided this?
No, we don't know, because the order is actually a two-line order saying that there is no basis for interference with the earlier judgment. So we don't know why they have dismissed it. That's also unfortunate, because if you look at the review petitions, there are substantial issues that we have raised in accordance with judgments which have been set forth before. So it's very disappointing, but let me tell you, this is not the end of the road. This fight will not go like this. We will continue to wage the battle, and at the end of it, I'm 100% sure that we'll be victorious. There are a number of routes available judicially to tackle this, and we are exploring all of them.
But the question now, Anand, is that whether the legal recourse is the way forward or whether the onus is on Parliament, because that is in fact what Justice Singhvi, for example, had argued earlier while upholding his decision to keep homosexuality as criminal in this country, overturning a Delhi High Court decision. Onir and Ashok, how do you respond to this? Because in the eyes of many, you could be dubbed...
Barkha, let me just answer that first.
Okay, Anand, clarify that.
Barkha, let me just answer that.
Okay.
Yeah. No. The court actually decided that the law does not violate any of the fundamental rights.
Yes.
As an addendum, which was not necessary, it said that the Parliament should do whatever it has to do. Now, when the Parliament actually was seized of the matter, at that time the Delhi High Court decision was already there. So there was no need to amend it. Now, after the decision of 11 December 2013, Parliament has to take a call on it. But as you know, we are facing elections.
Yeah, so it's unlikely that Parliament is actually going to put its mind onto it.
That's a longer process.
Okay, Parliament is a longer process.
We are working on it.
What happens to those who are asking, are we criminals? Why are we being treated as criminals in our own country? Why are we being treated as criminals simply for our right to live as we please with dignity? Ashok, your first thoughts today.
The first thing is that this is not the same situation as 2009. Since then, a lot of people have come out. There have been workplace policies in place. So many things have happened that were very encouraging. Now, a lot of these people, for example, at the Humsafar Trust, which I head, there have been a 5-fold increase in the number of telephone calls, but this time it's from the parents of gay men and women who are really worried about what happens to their children. The usual question asked is, do you think my child will be arrested for being what he is? They still don't seem to see the difference between being homosexual and having physical intimacy and getting into homosexual acts. So the difference is not yet known. So the first fear is, I'm dismayed and distressed by this the way they've thrown out the review petition without even looking at it. At the hundreds and thousands of youngsters who have come out now, And you can actually see distress and pain in the community all the time. I mean, I have got something like 40 calls from youngsters since this happened at 2 o'clock when it started on the ticker, of people asking what happens now to us, how do we do? Of course, nobody's going back in. The wonderful thing is, nobody's thinking of going back in the closet. That's out of question. The question is, how do we take it forward? And that's where the interesting things are happening in the community. We've been having series of meetings about how we should approach our MLAs, how we should approach our MPs, what are the procedures, do we write off now, for example, the BJP if it comes to power, can we, because they've taken a stand again, supporting the Supreme Court verdict, what do we do with them, how do we campaign with all the gatekeepers? So what we're saying is that the gay movement is turning political. We depended far too much on judicial activism.
That's interesting. Why that's interesting to hear you say that is because Anand actually says that's going to be a much longer road, a much higher hurdle. Onir, what do you think? You once said that if a heterosexual person doesn't have to hide the fact that they're heterosexual, why should you as a gay person hide your homosexuality? Ashok's saying there's no need for pessimism. No one's actually going back into hiding. Do you agree with that? Because there might be many other people who may have felt emboldened to come out who will now think many times before they do so.
I think there's a lot of people who have come out. Yes, they're not going to go back into hiding, but at the same time I see a lot of youngsters now rethinking. And for me, I have this big question, to myself, that my parents brought me up to live honestly and to love without fear, and today my Supreme Court tells me to learn how to lie, to deceive, to cheat in order to, conform to the Supreme Court ruling. So I feel that this is, though the struggle is not going to stop, it's not the end of the road, but the road has become much, much longer and the struggle has become harder when it shouldn't have been. I was not surprised today, but I was shocked at something else. I was shocked at the casual tone by which, with just 4 sentences, the court dismissed reviewing a petition that can affect lives of millions,
I think that's an important point. I want to get Anand in on that. Anand, the court could have at least given reasons. We may not have agreed with the earlier judgment, but it was an argued judgment. It may have had arguments that many of us found bewildering. For example, the argument that gay people are numerically not a strong number. Democracy is all about, even if that's the case, democracy is all about protecting those who are numerically on the margins as well, whatever their choices may be. Now, when Onir says that there was a casualness, you just put 3 lines out there, it's dismissed. It literally is that old image of the judge with the hammer in the Hindi films saying next case, thak, So did you feel that, Anand?
Yeah, you're right, Barkat. It's very unfortunate that the Supreme Court, despite the fact that there was huge anxiety and dissent over the judgment, thought it not fit for an open hearing. This kind of what you call a casual approach, it's not in 4 sentences, it's actually one sentence. Makes the Supreme Court, people lose confidence in a court, which is the highest court, because they expect justice. They expect to be heard. And the least that could have been done was that they could have heard us and then given a short reasoned order. But there are no reasons, so we don't know why. And let me tell you, it's not only LGBTI communities who are criminalized. Any heterosexual couple, even a married couple, if they are penile oral or penile anal sex, they are criminals. But of course, they are not going to be caught. And that is the inequity of it. And that's just not seen either by the earlier judgment or with the present.
But do you accept Ashok's argument, Anand? Do you accept Ashok's argument that the gay movement now is turning political? It has to turn political. That this is not like earlier. There's no going back. Anand?
No, not only that. I'm glad that Ashok has emphasized that the movement has gone beyond the judgment. So this is an inevitable role which is going to happen in the future, and everybody will be forced to reckon with this movement. And I'm also very happy that we are starting to become political. The movement is political and it has to engage with the political parties in a serious manner. And nobody, rightly Ashok says, is going to go back to the closet. And everybody should hear this point. Despite the judgment, people are not actually being cowed down. They are going forward and with optimism that they will win the battle. If justice is on your side, you have been oppressed, then the final victory is always yours.